Welcome to After the Pool, the video series where I share all my thoughts and opinions on the rest of the comic books that I read for the current comic book week. If you want to see my thoughts and opinions on most of the new number ones, you want to check out Worthy Ones. I do that video series on Thursdays, and I'll leave that video at the end of this video so you can click on and watch that when you're done with this one. Also, have you ever considered becoming a member of my YouTube channel? As low as 99 cents gets you early access to those videos, right? All you got to do is go onto that home screen, hit that join button, or you can go into the video description and you can click on the link, then it will guide you from there. You'll get custom emojis, you'll get badges letting others know how long you've been a member for, and like I said, early access to those videos is also a lot of fun. But yes, you do support the channel. So whether you do or you don't, still much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get started with this week's episode. Your journey starts at Marvel Comics, and our first book we're talking about is the issue 1 that I didn't get a chance to discuss on Worthy Ones, because usually I only discuss 7 of those, and when it exceeds 7, I carry it over to After the Pool. So the first book we're talking about is Hulk and Doctor Strange. This is issue 1. Now, we've been getting a lot of these one-shot style of team-up books, and they're done by J. Michael Straczynski, and in my opinion, I think these books have actually been quite interesting. And when it comes to the Hulk and Doctor Strange book, I wouldn't say it's maybe the best team up book. I would say it's better as a Hulk book than anything. But what happens is Hulk goes to Doctor Strange here, and he kind of wants to figure out, why is Bruce Banner a monster? Whereas all the other gamma radiated people in his life turn out maybe for the better. Like, for example, Jen Walters, right? She is the same Jen Walters, and except she might be a little bit better than what she's at now. And we made an example, I think, of Abomination, because he was like an evil person and he becomes evil. But Bruce Banner was a smart scientist. Why did he become the monster that he is today? So that presented a very interesting story. It was kind of cool how it all did make sense at the end of the day. And obviously, Hulk needed Doctor Strange's help to get to that point in time to realize why he became the monster that he is today. So I really enjoyed this book. I thought this one was a B. All right, the next one, speaking of Hulk, is The Incredible Hulk, issue 25. Now, you guys are probably like, holy cow, you haven't read Incredible Hulk, and you said you dropped it, and now you picked it back up. No, that's not the case. I just wanted to see what this milestone issue had to offer. Now, one of the webheads said in the comments below, didn't we just have a milestone issue? Yes, nowadays we have 2, right? One that represents legacy numbering, which was legacy numbering 800, and now this is the new volume legacy issue, or new volume milestone 25. So that's how Marvel gets you on the money, right? But when it comes to this book, the Nick Klein artwork is outstanding. If Nick Klein stayed on this book, I might have hung around for the duration of this series, but the inconsistency of the artwork definitely deters me from the book. And the one thing that this book has going against it is it's always constantly turning its wheels, but it never goes really anywhere, right? It's always really dragged out story here. And even though this was a cool story with Thor and Hulk fighting each other, it was kind of a story where it just almost didn't make sense. Charlie has turned into this werewolf type of creature, and it goes against what Thor believes in. These creatures were his enemy for the longest time, and Hulk is trying to explain Thor that she is different now. This is not the same person. I'm just walking away, and Thor continues to have this fight where I felt like this could have very easily been resolved, but we wanted this fight just to have this fight to represent the Hulk and Thor battle that happened years ago. Again, the artwork is great. It was cool to see the action, but the story itself, wasn't monumental in my eyes, but it was cool to see it was cool to see great action in the comic book. So I gave this one a C+. A for artwork, though, man. That was what, stood out for me. All right, then we have the Fantastic Four. This is issue 32. This goes under the One World Under Doom banner, and this is a story about Val in the comics. So if you've been reading the story, you've known that like the Fantastic Four have lost their powers. They went into another timeline to gain their powers, but then at the same time, the Fantastic Four from this timeline winds up not ever getting their powers, and somehow it messes up the current timeline, and Val becomes this chick. It's a weird comic, dude. She becomes this chick, I think her name is Mary, and we find out in this world that Franklin is like... He's like a Galactus being, but he's not a world either, right? He still has the mind of a juvenile, but his powers are so great that he is trying to stop everything that is remotely bad in his eyes. So what Val does is she still has her conscience in this other being. She tries to seek help from Reed and her mom, Sue, and then she tries to go, and then she winds up going to Jean Grey, and they come up with this plan to try to stop Franklin, right? How does this have anything to do with One World Under Doom? It doesn't, and it's so convoluted, but it was an interesting, like, one-shot type of story, right? I had fun reading it. It was kind of funny to see Franklin as like a Galactus-like character. So at the end of the day, I gave this one a C. Like, there was times where I laughed out loud, but it didn't really have anything to do with the One World Under Banner stuff, or One World Under Doom stuff. I'm looking at Hulk beneath me anyway. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu, issue 8. If you've read Moon Knight all this time, Jed MacKay, the first volume, this volume, Blood Hunt, all that other stuff, I think you're going to like this book, and I think you like this series. If you jump on now, you might think it's cool, but you probably have no idea what's going on, right? So Moon Knight is doing this battle against this character by the name of Achilles Fairchild. He's an Asgardian, like, drug lord, okay? He has this assistant by the name of Carver. That's who this character actually is. Right-hand woman for him. And she is forced to fight Moon Knight, take him out. And in this issue, you wind up who that character actually is. The artwork is superb in this comic book. It really is a highlight of this book. And we get to see kind of Moon Knight outsmart the character into a victory. But it was kind of interesting to see who the Carver character is, where she came from, what this sword is. Really interesting book. Again, Jed MacKay should drop X-Men, should drop Avengers, and just stick with this book, because this book, he's got it going on. So this one winds up getting an A for me. I really like this one. All right, the next book we're talking about is The Ultimates. This is issue 12. I think like The Ultimates in the past couple issues has really slowed down the pace. There's been no like real action, no battling, and that's okay. They're trying to move the plot forward here a little bit. Ever since Iron Lad got destroyed in that brutal battle with the Hulk, he's been repairing himself, getting back online, and things like that. And in the meantime, we kind of find out what Dr. Doom's MO was in this comic book when he saved them from the Hulk, right? Very in-depth. You're going to have to read it for yourself to understand really what's going on. And you find out there is a traitor amongst the entire group, right? But what the group has agreed upon is all the characters that you've been slowly introduced throughout this series, they now make the Ultimates 3.0, which was awesome. But the end of this book is really what makes this book for me, because again, you find out who the traitor is amongst the group, and I was like, damn, that kind of sucks, right? But it is a good setup issue, lots to read here, but I still recommend The Ultimates, a great title overall. Can't wait to see what happens when the maker makes his return. This one gets a solid A. Takes a little while to get through. All right, and then we get The Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue 4. I feel like this book is getting better for me. I'm starting to get adjusted to these flashbacks that Peter is having. It does make sense to the story that's going on. He is flashing back to, you know, his older, like his younger days, and you don't know really what's real and what actually happened in his past, because him hallucinating enhances everything. There was a cool battle in this book with the Itsy Bitsy character, and when he's hallucinating of Aunt May, and he's like making up with Aunt May, he's like, oh, I love you, and he gives Itsy Bitsy like this hug, and she's like, what? She's like, what did you just say to me? And this is the scene right here, and I was laughing. He's like, oh, I didn't mean that for you. And then Itsy Bitsy gets like totally pissed off. It's just a hysterical moment. There's good action. The artwork does shine in the comic. And then what this leads to is it's going to lead to a hobgoblin battle. And this next issue is going to be end of the first story arc. And the whole thing has to do with this soda that's being brought into the city because, you know, for some reason, Hobgoblin wants to give everybody anxiety and poison people with soda. Weird plot, but it is a little bit entertaining, and I wouldn't say it is better than Zeb Wells' run so far. So I like this one. I'm probably going to give this one a B-. Not perfect. Maybe I could deal with less hallucinations going on, but I think this book is a little bit on the rise for me. Welcome to the world of DC Comics. Today we're going to be discussing 2 DC Comics. The first one is Detective Comics issue 1097. This is the second story arc from Tom Taylor, so if you're looking to jump on Detective, I would say this is a good jumping on point. I don't think you really need to read the previous story arc to get what's going to happen in this story, because what this story is a Detective Harvey story, right? I mean, this is a story where Harvey kind of teams up with Batman in here on trying to help him solve this case that happened years ago in the early days of Harvey's police work. You know, he discovered this torture thing that the GCPD was doing, and he realized that this was wrong, but he saw right away at a young age how corrupt the department can actually be. They paid him off to, you know, kind of go elsewhere, and now years later, Harvey wants to kind of solve this case because these guys are still around after all this time. So again, he teams up with Batman here, and things take a turn for the worst when with Harvey's investigations here, and now that's when Batman kind of enters the comic. The book has decent artwork. It's not the normal artist that's been on here, but it is an entertaining read, and again, I would definitely suggest this book. Again, a little bit of a twist at the end. I gave this one a solid B. So next, we're talking about Absolute Flash issue 3. I really am enjoying this book. The first issue, we got introduced to Wally West. You know, he's living on this base, and then all of a sudden he gets the Flash powers. And ever since, we've gotten to see what's going on with him, how he got these powers, how he doesn't know how to handle these powers, he's all confused. Things are going a mile a minute. It's like a high octane, high energy comic book, and it's meant to do that. Jeff Lemire is purposely making it very confusing and all over the place so you can experience what Wally is going through. But the key thing in this issue is, besides him running, he gets introduced to Grodd. And Grodd is not the ape that you're accustomed to actually seeing in the Flash comic books. He's like an experimented monkey where he has like these brain powers where if he touches you, he can see everything that's going on in your brain. So it'll be interesting to see if these two characters will become friends in the long term, or if they're going to be enemies, because when the rogues are chasing him and they release Grodd to go find him, they're like, the monkey's gone rogue, you know? And it's like, damn. So then Wally has this epiphany in the book, and he decides that he is no longer going to run. So I would assume that in issue 4, we're going to get the first time that Wally stands up to these guys and becomes the Flash character in this series. The colors, the art is so outstanding. My hat's off to Jeff Lemire for this book. This one gets an A+ from me. Top pick from DC Comics. There was only a couple of books that I really read from them this week, but you got to read Absolute Flash. Welcome to the realm of independent comics. That's right, guys. And the first one we're talking about is Medieval Spawn. This is issue 2. This is, I think, a 3-4 issues, something like that. So I decided to invest in the story. I think Medieval Spawn is a cool character. The first issue was good enough to continue. And, you know, we got to see Medieval Spawn actually take this kid under his wing. They stopped this plague that's been happening, going through like all the different towns and whatnot. And we wind up learning that there is this other town that's going after Spawn, right? They're obviously against the Hellspawn, and so they're going to go after him. In the meantime, Medieval Spawn and his posse is actually going out trying to find this beast or whatever it is, and they've been going on for months trying to find this beast, and his crew is actually losing faith in him, and they think that this thing can help them in their battle and whatnot. So there's a lot of talking heads in this particular issue. This issue was okay, but I don't think it was the greatest book in the world. I just found it a little bit boring, but I'm still going to be on board with this one to see where it goes, because at the end of it, it introduced this beast, I think, that they were looking for all this time. And it was this like crazy ogre thing. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I want to see where it goes. So even though it wasn't like the best issue, I'm still going to read it. I gave that one a C+. All right. Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger Spawn. This book is really on my hot seat right now. I don't know if I want to continue it. Is one Gunslinger comic book series enough? Do I really need 2? And in this book, we do get the return of the regular artist, which I'm not gonna lie, it really fits this comic book. When you have Jimmy Palmiotti write this book and the artwork that goes with it, these two hand in hand go with each other. Because when you see Palmiotti describe everything that's going on, the artist really delivers. And that's what I can appreciate about this comic, right? But when it comes to the overall story, I really don't know if I'm like really interested in it. Like, we wind up getting Gunslinger come across this, I think it was this Cherokee or this Indian that have crossed paths in their former lives, right? And it was like when Gunslinger, before he turned into Gunslinger, came across this female here, he was forced to like kill their tribe, or the crew was forced to kill the tribe. And it's like this person knows who he is and he knows who she is, and later on in this world. And it's kind of like, all right, like I get it, like, but what's really the point of it, right? And I understand this is called the Deadly Tales of Gunslinger. This is things that he experienced before the present day comic book. But are these tales interesting enough for me to continue to read it, right? So I don't know, man. So it's only a $2.99 comic book still, so I'm really on the fence about this. It still was an okay read. I'm gonna give it a C+, but it just wasn't anything that was like, oh man, that was really, really good. Like the first issue when they were dealing with the demons and the vampire ladies and stuff like this. It was just like this soul Indian girl where she wants revenge on him because he basically killed, you know, her family and stuff. So, all right. Next, Vatican City. This is issue 2. I wasn't the biggest fan of Vatican City issue 1 because I felt like the artwork didn't do its job. I really, I want to say, working well with the writer here, which is Mark Miller, right? It just wasn't, they didn't complement each other well. That's the word I was looking for here. And in this world, we see vampires that have taken over the entire earth, pretty much except Russia, and they're going into the Vatican to unleash their queen, okay? Now, what this book did do is it did a better job at explaining kind of like these vampires, right, and the vampire queen, and how the vampires took over the earth and all this other stuff, and how they're making their way back, and if the vampire queen gets unleashed, there'll be no stopping them. So I like that. But then there was other times in this comic book where you really can't make out which characters are doing what, who are the vampires, who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, just different things like that, right? But all as I know is they want to release this queen. And of course, I'm on board to see if they're going to accomplish this or not. But we will see. We will see what happens with it. Again, the artwork's not my favorite here. It's acquired taste, I'm sure. So I gave this one a C+ as well. Nothing that really stood out to me. I just want to see the conclusion to it, to see this queen hopefully get released. Like, I want to see it happen. Like, I want to see her get released and eat everybody. And I want to see the vampires win. Is that dark? I don't know. Moving on, the next book we have is Red Coat. This is issue 12. This book has been nothing short of phenomenal, right? Brian Hitch's artwork has been second to none. I think, he complements Jeff Johns really well in his writing. Facial expressions and the characters look great. Like, look at Simon Pure there, man. And look how serious the Northerner is. But in this comic, we're really starting to learn about who the Northerner is, right? We're learning that he is kind of like this time traveler. He's got weapons from the future, and you're getting to see Simon Pure ask these questions. But the only real thing that we truly get is the Northerner says, you must stop this cobbler guy, because if you don't, the South is going to win, and Simon Pure, you will no longer exist. And we also get introduced to the cobbler character, right? And it looks like he is a time traveler himself, as he has this safe, and it has got like Snicker bars in it, and it's got like books inside of it. He's got machine guns. He has himself armed, right? And when you read this book, you find out his importance in this comic. And I was like, oh shit. And the action really ramps up. Like, check out the Northerner there, man. He just looks so good with his 2 pistols, right? Just an awesome book. Top pick for me. A+. I can't wait to see the direction this story arc goes. All right, and then we talk about Image's Bug Wars. This is issue 4. This is a great book with the character by the name of Slade. I think it's Slade Slaymaker. What a weird name, dude. Anyway, Slade Slaymaker is a person that got shrunk down into his backyard, and he has this amulet attached to the chest, and this amulet gives him great powers. However, it is malfunctioning because it's not whole. And over the past few issues, we've learned about the factions of all these bugs and things like that. Well, now we wind up getting to see the Spider Witch wind up kidnapping, or not kidnapping, but persuading Slade to go with her to learn more about the amulet. And as they go on to this adventure with each other, they come across all the other bugs. She, guides him through the right way of going through the backyard so he doesn't get killed. And as we go along, I seem like these two develop a nice relationship with each other. They start opening up with each other. We find out why our witch character was banned from the Witch's Coven, and she was sent on this mission to begin with, or to be sent to be killed because she wound up having a relationship with this other person that was part of the group, right? So you learned a little bit more about her, you learned a little bit about Slade, and when you got to the end of this book, you really cared more about these characters, and that's what I liked about it. It had more character growth. I think in previous issues, we learned a lot more about the world, and even though we got some more of the world, it was the characters that made this issue for me, and this was the best issue, because by the time we get to the end of it, we see that he is delivered to the Witch's Coven, or however you say it, and now he's going to obviously deal with the consequences here. Does he escape? Does he live? We'll have to read it to find out. But yes, another independent comic book that gets a top pick from me, A+. I definitely say go out there and check out Bug Wars. And there you guys have it. There are all my thoughts and opinions on this week's comic books. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, guys, there's more content right here for you to click on. And like I said, Worthy Ones is there to see my thoughts on those newest issue 1s. And of course, remember, support the local comic shops, keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember, read your comics so we can have great comic conversation. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.